Hi everyone, welcome to Lost Creek. My name is Scott, and today we will be continuing to work on the 1989 Jeep Wrangler YJ project. In this episode, we will be cutting and splicing two frames together to make one complete frame for our YJ, and I'm going to show you how I do it. Stay tuned. As you can see, this is where we're starting. This is the 1989 Jeep Wrangler YJ with the 4.2. Back there in the back, you can see that I've got another frame that we're going to be cutting and using the back half of. The frame for that existed on the YJ was actually really good up front, but as you made your way back, you can see that there's quite a bit of rust. And you know, this shock perch is exactly what I'm talking about. Quite a bit of rust there, and you can replace those, and you can see that there's a hole here in the frame. And as you make your way back, the cross member is really rusty, and hopefully you can make out that there's holes and the metal is bent quite a bit from considerable rust. And then on the back, you'll see that there's no cross member across the back. I started using the safety cap repair panels, which I liked very much, but I wasn't really happy with the end result. I wanted to make it just a little bit better. So as you can see in the back here, we've got another YJ frame, and this is from a newer YJ. They're all very much the same, and we're going to cut the back half off of that frame and splice it to the good front half of this Wrangler. The task for now is to figure out a way to cut the frames exactly in the same place for both frames, for all four sides, for all four cuts. And in order to do this, I'm going to build a cardboard template or jig that will force my cuts to be in the exact same place. And that way, when I cut the back half off this frame and add in the new half of the other frame, the cuts should line up perfectly, and we're not losing any dimensionality of the frame. Where the motor mounts are, where the drive line sits, everything should match up as stock. But I'm going to show you how I make that template from cardboard. Okay, hopefully what you can see here is that this template will allow me to cut, or draw a line rather, consistently here, like this, and create that stepped cut that will then be made on every single part of the frame that I want to separate. And when I come to join it back together again, it will fit into this, you know, Tetris looking thing here. So what I'm going to do now is take this template, and you can see that I've reinforced it underneath also. I'm trying to keep it so that this template doesn't change shape as I move from, you know, the different parts of the frame. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make it so that it's a little bit more stable. I'm going to add a little gussets here and there, and then this template is complete, and I'll show you that as soon as I'm done. As you can see, the jig actually held together very nicely. A little cardboard, a little hot glue, and I've got a template that I can use on all four cuts on the frames, and I can just throw it in the garbage. So I'm going to trim this up a little bit and make it a little bit easier to use, and then we'll go try it out on the other frame to make sure it fits correctly. Okay, I have cleaned the frame with a little bit of lacquer thinner so that I get a good mark from my silver paint pen here. And so what I've done is trimmed up the template So now that it's nice and clean, this should fit on all 4 frame members. So what I'm going to do is try it out here on this existing frame member, the one I actually built the template on. I'm going to mark it, then I'm going to go over to the other frame and see if it fits correctly on that, and then mark it as well. So here we go. So what it does is it butts up to this perch here, right? This leaf spring perch. It butts up to that and then cinches right up to that. And so what I should be able to do now is take my paint pen and mark a very precise line, and this should tell me exactly where I want to cut. So let's see here. Yeah, that's going to work out really well. So I've got a nice marked line. Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put this back on here, and I'm going to reach over to this other side, and I'm going to mark this side as well, holding it in position. Holding it in position and getting beautiful lines. All right, now I'd show you the other side, but the other side looks exactly like this side. So I think this is really going to work. Let's take it over to the other frame and make sure it works on that one as well. Okay, that's just a quick shot of the existing frame, the other side that I didn't get to show you. But now what we'll do is move over to our donor frame here, and all I'm going to do for this is show you that the template lines up correctly, and then I'll go around and make all my marks, okay, because I've got only one hand holding the camera with the other. But if you see here, the template fits perfect on it, butts up against that perch, that spring perch, and I'm going to get nice clean lines out of that too. So I'm going to go ahead and mark these, and then I'll show you the results here in one moment. You can see here, you got some nice clean marks. These match up exactly to the other frame on the Jeep itself, so that when we mate the 2 pieces together, I should get some real nice connections. Okay, I'll quickly show you this other side as well. On the donor frame, some nice marks. So the template worked exactly perfect. It was exactly what I wanted to do. Now what I've got to do is mark the opposite side of the frame, and I've got some wires and fuel lines and everything else in my way. So I'm going to go ahead and remove those off camera and then go ahead and mark those off and show you that. All right. Well, I've made all my lines. I've joined the top of the line here. I just took a straight edge and just joined the top of the line. The template worked perfectly. I'm pretty excited that it didn't have any other catches on the other side of the frame where I built it on this side and I was worried that it wasn't going to fit on that side. Everything worked fine. So I'm pretty excited at the outcome of this. I moved all the lines out of the way. I don't have anything really getting in my way of actually cutting the frame now. So what I think I'll do is I'll reposition the camera, give you kind of an overhead shot of me cutting the frame, and what we'll do from that point is do a little time lapse and just get through it nice and quick. You guys understand what I'm doing, you understand the principles of what I'm doing, but now it's just time to do it. And then we'll get into more detail as we start to reassemble the frames and get them back together as one whole perfect, hopefully, frame. Okay, I just wanted to show you what tools I'm going to be using to make these cuts on the frame. I'm going to be using this 6-inch angle grinder with a metal cutting blade that I got from the local hardware store. I'm going to use that to basically chew up this line. So I'm not going to cut to the left or to the right of this line. I'm actually going to cut right on the line. I know that I'm going to lose a little bit of the dimension with the thickness of the blade. So I'll account for that as I'm putting it back together again. Before I make my cuts, I'm going to measure from this body mount to that body mount, and then obviously on the other side, so that I have an exact measurement to how I'm going to put this back together again. I want to make sure that I don't mess up the body mounts, because I still want to mount the body in its stock locations. I don't want to have to finagle that at all, especially once I've cut the frame. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to take some measurements, and then I'll get to cutting. All right, hey, that was kind of exciting. The cuts went perfect. I don't know what I expected to happen, but quite truthfully, everything worked out exactly as I wanted it to, as I planned out in my head, and I'm pretty excited about that. Let me flip you around and show you. So here's the cutoff piece. Everything worked real well. I mean, you know, the cuts are real nice. You know, I got to clean out the inside of those frame rails a little bit, but the steel looks in really good shape. So now on to the next. I'm going to cut that, and pretty soon we'll be putting them back together. Okay, I have officially hit the point of no return. Both frames are cut exactly the same. I've got the Jeep frame with the engine in it up on a jack, and now I've got, if I'll flip you around here, right? So I've got the Jeep here all taken apart, and I'm going to move around here, and I'm going to show you, this is the donor frame. The donor frame's all cut and ready to go. The cuts came out just as I wanted them to. I'm very excited. There's the front half that was damaged and I couldn't use anyway, so I'll pull the leaf springs off and use a little bit of that steel for donor to make the diamonds that cover these welds. And now what I've got to do is take this frame and get it over to there, and then get it perfectly level and clamped in place so that I can take some measurements. Coming up next. Spent a few minutes trying to get myself situated and organized, and I obviously, as you saw, used the ceiling hoist to get it kind of sort of in place. It wasn't really giving me a lot of ability to adjust side to side, so I took a jack, and I'll show it, and I put it beneath the leaf springs in order to let me try to level it out. So if you look real close, I've gotten pretty darn good on this one. I've clamped top to bottom to get it leveled out, and then I clamped the side to bring it in a little. So far, that's working well. It's working on this side. The other side, I've got to do some adjustments to make the joints fit more tightly. So I'm going to do that now and try to do the same thing I did on this side. So right now, everything on the passenger side is clamped and I think that I've got it in a good position now to weld. So I'm very excited about that. Now I've just got to get the driver's side situated and get that a lot tighter. And then I'm going to go back and I'm going to double check my measurements that I took earlier, and I'm going to make sure it's lined up perfectly, and then I'll start tacking it into place. And once I do that, I can burn a nice hot weld right through that and get it. I've already chamfered the edges of the steel, so I've got a nice little valley there that I can work on, and I can get a nice hot weld in there. And then I'm going to plate it when it's all said and done. So I'll take you guys through that. Right now, everything seems to be going well. I don't knock on wood. I don't want it to jinx myself. So we'll come back in a few minutes, and I'll show you what I did. Looks like something straight out of Frankenstein's monster right now. So I've completed putting that together. I have joined the frame with clamps, and I've got ratchet straps pulling the two ends together. I've got everything leveled and clamped in so that the frame rails are nice and straight, and the cuts are nice and tight. There's a couple of cuts that are just a little looser that I'm going to have to weld in, but it'll give me an option to get in and do a real nice penetrating weld in there, because I want this to be very, very, very strong. Here's one where I've got a little bit more of a gap where I was trying to make some adjustments, but the top and the bottom of the frame is parallel, so that's in good shape. What I'll do is I'll burn in the welds tonight before I end my afternoon, and get it so that I can get my garage back in order for the day. I'm not a professional welder. I don't ever claim to be a professional welder. I weld, and I do a pretty nice job, and I feel that it's going to be strong and safe. I will plate it and weld that in nice and neat. So, you know, I don't want to go through and have you see all my welding and everything else. You've seen many welding videos, really nothing different. I will show you once it's complete so that you can see what I've got and how nice it came out. I will grind down the weld so it's flush, and then I'll plate it and make it so that it's got some extra strength there. So I'll do that and show you where I got to in a moment, and then I'll go ahead and end my day. Okay, welding's done. It worked great. The welder never lets me down, and it didn't let me down today. I got some great deep penetrating welds. You can tell that I definitely got penetration on these. I'm pretty happy. These are actually some of my better welds. So I'll go ahead and show these to you. The welds came out real nice. I don't have any complaints. I think this is strong. I'll just show you this one side. The other side looks identical to this. Yeah, now that the frame is kind of standing on its own, I believe it's stable. I can take down all the straps and take down the hoist chain and such, and get myself situated so that I can put this away for the afternoon. Well, that wraps it up for me tonight. Everything worked out excellent. I'm very, very happy. I'm glad the way it came out. The Jeep is now standing on its own with the frame welded, and everything is disconnected from the hoists and everything else. So now my job is to clean up and put everything away and go have dinner. So thanks for watching Lost Creek. Again, I'm Scott, and we'll see you in the next episode.